Hello there, ladies, gentlemen, and unicorns. I just realized that I was a little bit scrambling to get everything set up for the stream, and I unplugged my main light. So please bear with me unless we want to keep this very spooky atmosphere. But let me just inform the people on Twitter that I'm live, but yeah. Hello there, everyone. I'm sorry, it's so hot here and I completely forgot the time. I enjoyed a very nice dinner with my wife and time flew by when you're having a nice conversation. I was a little bit scrambling to meet the deadline. So let me just quickly try to get the light back on. Okay, there we go. That's much better, I hope, but I'm still a little bit under the weather, which means in this case, it's very hot right here. So I was right now, I had a dilemma. Which other appliance to unplug on my power strip, because the fan, my biggest fan, is running at maximum speed there from trying to shovel in as much cool air from the windows. So of course I don't want to unplug that one. Then of course the scenic lights, well, this is a little bit too strong, maybe like this is a bit too the scenic lights, of course I need to keep. And my USB hub I need, so what else to unplug? So now it's my desk lamp, which won't be needing anyway today. So, hello everyone. Again, sorry for the disheveled me right now, but I hope to you bear with me. So, how was your week? I only know that mine was pretty productive. I made some good progress on the script for the upcoming Ludum Dare postmortem. And good news, I recorded the voiceover, which will be more or less the scaffolding of the entire operation. I recorded the voiceover yesterday and have to do cleanups, but from what I can tell now, it's going to be about half an hour of video goodness when it's done, hopefully. So, cool. The one question that I have right now is, have I told anyone before on what I was working on? Because I think I more or less kept it a secret. So this will be, more or less a big reveal of my first, well, kind of serious-ish Unity project that I've been working on for the past 2 weeks, as I was starting to work on my Ludum Dare 42 postmortem. So a lot of stuff going on with me. But Sorcerer says, can't watch a slideshow, I'll catch the VOD later. Oh, sounds like Sorcerer is having quality problems. Sorry to see you go, but thank you so much for returning if you see this now on video on demand. So I hope this is still interesting. So not to waste any more time, the only thing that I can say is whenever I say the word unicorn, and I will probably forget about it, but have a sip of water because it's healthy and fun to stay hydrated. Yes, it's fun to be alive. Well, depends on the situation. 2020 is pretty horrid. Anywho, my plans for today is to show you. My plans for today are. That's correct. More correct. My plans for today are to show you what I've been working on, the current state of my prototype. Probably will give the programmers among you probably 1 or 2, probably more occasions for face palms. But then again, it works for me, it works on my machine, and we will see how things will go down the line. So, let me quickly check. I got already 4 viewers, so I'm not talking to myself, which is wonderful. So let's switch over there to the screen. And yes, it works. I got a mouse pointer here. So let's quickly pause Dropbox. because I'm one of those pathetic souls that use a Dropbox for their versioning. I mean, right now, since I'm the only one working on my project, which is cool. The downside is that when you have Dropbox running and Unity at the same time, let's start up Unity then. Both applications want to access files at the same time and they step on each other's toes. And yeah, I get errors from Dropbox saying it can't access some files. I get errors from Unity saying it can't access some files. And it's just a big old cluster fudge. So this is why I just pause Dropbox whenever I'm working on Unity. And the other reason is you might have noticed that Unity builds each time when you start a project this library of who knows what kind of working temporary files. And as I was quickly wanted to sync my Dropbox after a coding session, realized it had like 15,000 files of in total, I think 500 megabytes or so. And then thankfully I realized that I could delete the library folder. The only downside to this was, of course, that Unity will complain when you open it up and have to rebuild pretty much everything, which takes time. But then again, it's much faster than waiting your Dropbox to sync. Okay, so let's switch some windows around. And oh, I got another hi. Hi. Why don't you use Git instead? Says Tutvari. And the answer to that is I'm not too comfortable with Git, because I probably only use it when I'm doing programming, which the last time that I used Git was when I was working on Headroom together with Max, or my only serious Unity project so far. So this is already a couple of years back, and I haven't ever had the need to use it because, yeah, I mean, I'm very old school, because I think my only or main means of, well, version control is just when I'm done with a session where I got everything working and the build working, I just zip the entire build and then I zip the entire project folder with all the assets, name it with today's date and go to sleep. And this is how I've been handling things so far. So yeah, I mean, Git of course would make a lot of sense, but then again, yeah, like I said, I'm not too familiar with it and I do things the old way. And so far, let's knock on wood, so far things have been working out. Okay, so yeah, what is my little project about? It's an FMV game. This is at least something that has been haunting me for many years now. Actually, I think since the first time that I saw FMV games, when I got my first CD-ROM drive, which was in 95, 96, 95. It must have been 95, because I recall playing audio CDs on my computer, which was crazy back then. My God, I'm old. Anywho, I was just amazed that you could watch videos, entire movies on your computer screen and even change the outcome, or just pick one of three possible answers where a story would go. Well, of course, it depends on the game, but this was more or less the gist of FMV videos or video games. I mean, FMV videos is like saying FM videos, so yeah, never mind. So this is also why this very presentation here on my channel on YouTube is called Fill Motion Video, as a fun take on full motion video, which is why this is the abbreviation FMV stands for those of you who didn't know. Okay, so I got this idea of FMV, doing something with FMV, and I had some ideas here and there of various prototypes and so on, but it was just mostly writing design documents and just scribbling out ideas and so on. But yeah, I didn't really have a definitive idea, or at least an application for doing an FMV game, and yet more or less faded in the background. But every then, one time or another, I would hear someone say, hey, why don't you make FMV games? You like filmmaking, you like making games, so I mean, this would make sense. And yeah, of course it would make sense. And So the question now is, what pushed me over the edge to try my hand at FMV games? And it was playing the Tex Murphy games. Has any one of you ever heard of Tex Murphy? If not, let me find some videos which I recorded from my playthroughs of the Tex Murphy games. So yeah, it's a series of games and gaming videos. There we go. Ash F says, the most important question is, will you get bad actors because you need bad actors? Well, you're looking at the bad actors, so I can assure everyone, yes, I will have a very bad actors, very scene-chewing situations. So yeah, for now I think I'll do it. I approach it like my post-mortem bits. I'm playing most of the roles and badly at that, but I think my only hope is that it adds to the charm. Cursibu says, I only saw your Twitter pics about it. I'm assuming we're talking about Tex Murphy. And Ashraf says, I'm sold, and woohoo! I'm already happy. Thank you so much for sticking with my weird antics. So game caps. By the way, I think I've mentioned this in another stream of mine, but if you can see here, I like to record the games that I've been playing, and let's have here PC games, and those are the ones that I haven't archived. So you can see here Tex Murphy Overseer, so those are 4 Tex Murphy games. The games I have archived already that I've played are to be found in here. Let's have a look at PC games. And so yeah, this is a list of really, let's have a look at, I don't know, Half-Life or Into the Breach. And yeah, there is not much there in Into the Breach. But for example, Fallout Shelter, for some reason I recorded a couple of hours. Anyway, yeah, this is just my archive of the games that I played. In case I want to do a video about any of those, and maybe, so that I don't have to rely on crummy footage that I get on YouTube from someone. So yeah, this is why it's very easy for me if I need, if I recall, oh, hasn't there been this one game, and then at this stage there was this screen or this sprite, so I can just dive into my archive and find it. So this is where Tex Murphy is to be found, and let's just start with the very first Tex Murphy game, something that's close to the beginning. So yeah, this is a Tex Murphy game. This was DOS based, and it was an FMV game, and what was strange for me was that you have these sections where you can walk around in first person and then pick up some clues. Let's skip ahead a little bit, and yeah, you just can walk around, and at certain points you can interact with people or trigger some sort of cutscenes or anything, as we can see here, and then it switches over into an FMV scene if we manage to get that. Yeah, here we go. So you can, in this case, we can ask this guy something, and then we get this wonderful little video scene where it is extremely obvious that it was shot against a blue screen in this case, and the entire framing is not something too good, at least not in this first game. But yeah, essentially it's like this combination of first-person adventure game stuff with the FMV scenes. So this was what got me interested in trying to do something on my own, because I found this, Tex Murphy are essentially adventure games, but with this first-person mode and real-life actors. So this was something that I thought, nice! I think I can do this, and thanks to Corona, I had a couple of, in the past weeks, I played 4 Tex Murphy games. I'm still playing the latest one, which is the worst one. Just to give you a frame of reference, I think the first Tex Murphy game came out in '94, the next one in '96, and then the third one in '98 or '99. It was already a Windows 95 version, and then there was Long Nothing, and in 2012 the Kickstarter funded project finally released, and it was a wonderful HD continuation of the story. and it was divided into chapters, so each day is essentially a chapter, and it was all fun and well until chapter 5 or day 5 or day 6, where it was just literally a puzzle room after a puzzle room. There have always been puzzles in some sort of another with Tex Murphy games, but it was more like, yeah, I need to break this code to find out what this person was taking notes of and so on, so it made sense. But in the newest game, it's just puzzle room after puzzle room, and yeah, I lost interest at that. Okay, so I've been talking for 18 minutes so far only about the background of my game, so you know what, let's without further ado, let's launch even in full screen the prototype that I have. And the only disclaimer that I have to make beforehand is this is I made an adaptation of one of the scenes from my upcoming Ludum Dare 42 documentary, where I'm having this film noir bit where we have this detective and he is looking for something. And so I have this one scene, and I thought, yeah, I can just shoot it very cheaply again here in my home office. So this is why the video quality and the audio quality aren't top notch. But yeah, just something to see if it's working. So let's get ready. Sorry, I wanted to change the audio levels. Hope you can hear it. Probably not. Now you should hear it. Sorry, let's try this again. So, just want to make sure that you can actually hear what's going on. And yeah, I'm monitoring the audio levels, so please let me know if it's too quiet or I'm too quiet, or usually the other way around. So yeah, again, we tried once more. Earnest inspiration was my only lead, so I decided to pay his warehouse a visit. By force, if necessary. Earnest inspiration.
Jesus! Pigs! How the hell did you get in here?
Okay, so Conradical Game says I can definitely hear it now, and yeah, here we are in the first section that's just looping, where we can pick one of 3 possible replies to that. So I'm not hearing it, but I know what's being said, of course. So with which one you want to go? With understatement, a problematic doorman, or gumshoe bravado? Please let me know, then we can pick one. And I'm very, very proud that I managed to hook up the new input system in Unity to have this done, to get this done. So Cursey says gumshoe bravado. This is number 3. And so I think we shall go with gumshoe bravado. I am the shadow in the night, the tingle on the spine of evildoers like you, the ghost that slips through the cracks, the pain in the ass. What do you want? I just came to ask you a question. Then come back tomorrow. I'm not in the mood. I got business to attend to. Darkwing Duck references. Thank you so much for noticing it. Yes, this is exactly where this one was coming from. So, okay, this guy has been telling us off. So, should we go with 1, doubtful, 2, businesslike, or 3, toilet humor? Because, of course, in a comedy adventure, we need to have toilet humor. 3, Conradical Games says 3 again, so I think, yeah, I think we shall go with toilet humor then. It sure smells like someone was doing big business here, especially in that corner.
Jimmy! I told you to use the bloody bathroom like everyone else. You're a big boy. See what I have to put up with? Come back tomorrow.
Ever seen this?
Oh, this is what this is about. Yeah, I've seen this.
When?
Last week.
Where?
Come back tomorrow, pigs.
Listen, don't get all night to drag this out of you. You either tell me everything you know, or someone might tip off the law about this whole racket you running again.
What are you insinuating? I'm a changed man. I run a 100% legitimate business operation, and your accusations are preposterous. If you don't have anything on me, I suppose you see yourself out.
Fine. But you haven't seen the last of me.
Oh yes, I have. Jimmy!
And here we are. This guy's been telling us off, and we are just outside his office in the warehouse, and this is the mouse sensitivity is a bit too high, and this is here where we are after this scene. And yeah, this should be the door to his office where we just were booted out. And if we go back inside,
Fortunately, your door is still broken.
Unfortunately, your nose is not. What?
usually I thought I might fall back into some kind of dialogue scene, but right now we just get booted out each time that we enter this door again. So Ashf asks, truth time, how much does it kill your throat to do that voice? It was horrible. I don't know why I settled for this guy with this voice. But I had coughing fits, especially when I was calling out to Jimmy. Oh dear God, why did I do this? But everything, destroy my voice for your entertainment. And I mean, if Tom Waits can do it, so can I. It's your Doc Brown voice, right? Yeah, I don't have that many voices, so yeah, this is my Doc Brown voice. I think I only got another impersonation, is this the right word? And this is, of course, Christoph Waltz, because he's also Austrian, and I like his very pronounced enthusiasm for things. So yes, haha, that's a bingo. It's just this clapping in the hands, and yeah, he's just so happy to be wherever he is at some point or another. Okay, so yeah, what's also nice is, look at this, we got here our little shadow. So yeah, this is, you can clearly see that I already started polishing where I shouldn't have started polishing, but you know me, it was such a pull to try and make a block mesh and not texture it or anything. So this is very much a layout. So this might even change. It's just so that we know, yeah, this is a warehouse and we should be doing something. So what can we do here? Well, for one thing is we got this little desk here, and it's an oak desk. And I spent the past week trying to get this overlay working. That and by the way, this is also placeholder here for the chair in front of the desk. And look at this, we even can open the drawers. I'm so very proud of of having this possible. And also the desk, including the drawers, is under 1,000 triangles, which counts as a win in my book. Okay, so again, we can go back and into the office, and I recorded a number of...
There's one more thing.
No, there isn't.
5 different replies.
What?
Which was really fun to write and also to act. So maybe I can trigger another we haven't seen yet.
There's one more thing.
I think we just saw this one, so I'll try again.
Unfortunately, your door is still...
I think we also saw this one. Maybe I should do a list and have some kind of randomized bag, and then we just, where my game just pulls out one of the, pretty much like Tetris, one of the scenes we haven't played yet, instead of just doing it entirely randomly.
I'm back.
I've noticed.
Yeah, so okay, this works and moving around works, and what also works, which is a little bit clunky in its implementation right now, Canehorn says maybe cycle through them instead of random. Yeah, this would be the other option, that is because as a player you really don't know which is the first one of those random things. Yeah, I think this makes sense. Let me just write it down, because this stream will be more or less a learning experience for me. So, what was this? Random replies or random videos in cycle. Yeah, because, sorry, most of the time it doesn't add if it's just a random clip or one that where the randomness was chosen ahead. So yeah, there is not much here for now in this scene, because yeah, I've already mapped out what you should do as a player. Again, this is more or less a vertical slice where I want to get everything right for just this one scene and then see how things go. Yeah, the other thing that I wanted, I'm very proud of, is I can crouch and I can stand on my toes. Because again, this is a detective game, so you might want to see what's on top of these crates, or perhaps under the desk. Maybe someone taped a key there. Who knows? You're a detective. And because I'm a rigid body, I can, well, I shouldn't crouch under it. I can be pushed aside from the drawers. Okay, so to finish at least my prototype here, we need to find a MacGuffin or just something to trigger the ending sequence, and it is in here. It is this wonderful capsule. That's the magical MacGuffin, and if we take it, right now it's not a very clever implementation. It just destroys itself and sets a flag in the game control that, yeah, we possess everything to see the final cutscene. So if you're ready, let's finish this.
What?
I know what's in the crates.
It was an educated guess.
But how could you?
A good one.
Spill it.
Fine. What do you want to know?
And so concludes our tale. Yeah, I had to close the thing because, again, this is just a very short vertical slice prototype, whatever you want to call it. So I'm not going into another lengthy dialogue, monologue, or anything just for this little test. But I think you can see where things are heading from here. So and now let's head over straight to Unity, where I want to show you how I've implemented things. And again, I'm not quite sure if I'm doing things the correct way in Unity or anything, but so far things have been working out quite fine for me, because I try. Usually when I started a Myst-like engine in Unity. Well, it's not so much an engine, but it's a framework, where you just have hotspots where you can have pre-rendered views in all cardinal directions, and then you can jump to the next one, and so on and so forth. And I started with implementing a JSON script reader where I had JSON scripts for each view, and then for each location, also a world model in the background, and everything, object oriented. Needless to say, at some point it was just over my head, because there were so many dependencies going on, and I didn't really have an architecture for it in the first place. But at least I started with parsing JSON files. So yeah, go figure. So with this one, I thought, I will more or less hard code everything, and then when I realize that I need something to be more modular, I will just flesh it out when the need shall arise, and not just in anticipatory fashion that I just go, this would be probably neat when this is a whole modular system and I have to make it robust, and then you just rip code apart and work on your game for 5 hours where nothing compiles because it's like open heart surgery and then you close it up and of course it won't work. And if you do this a couple of times, you will get a horrendous bug in there, and because you made so many systems that are interacting like I have, you really lose the fun or motivation to keep working on this. Kane Horn says, looking forward to seeing your act of femme fatale. Thankfully, I have my wife who is more than happy to to play the roles that I can't do, because my range is quite limited. But thank you so much for at least considering me to drag myself up. Pun intended. Okay, so this is what we have here. This scene is just my testing scene, as you can see, and already look at this wonderful null reference exception. All right, yeah, the thing is that I changed for the demo that this text label here, I changed this text from the classic canvas text object, of course, to what's it called? UI Text Mesh Pro. So let me just change this, give it one of these nice fonts. Let's give it, yeah, light, sure, why not, and register it in my look interaction script. Now it should work, hopefully. Yes, that's much better. So yeah, you can see I'm moving a sprite around with just this silhouette, and when I'm ducking or stepping on my toes, you can see how this thing just gets squashed. But yeah, this was at least something that I wanted to try out, and of course now it doesn't work anymore, and the reason for this is that I had programmatically the animation controller be picked, and what I didn't know is that this only works in the Unity editor, that you can pass the reference to an, what's it called, this thing here, and yeah, an animator controller. Yeah, you can only do this in Unity in the editor, and when I tried to compile it, it wouldn't compile, and it was close to 8 a.m. in the morning, and I was up still. So I just tried to tie up all the loose ends and then just hard coded it more or less. Okay, so basically let's open up my scene here of the warehouse. Warehouse prototype. There we go. Yeah, let's save this. And people who are familiar with Unity will already ask me, what the hell, why do you have so many light probes in there? My answer is, I want to have it look nice and have this bounced light that we have here that's coming from this way too intense light source. I want to have it illuminate also the back here, but you actually know or can see what's going on. So I just move my game over here, and this back in the scene. So yeah, I have a couple of controller objects because I come from Game Maker, and where singletons and manager objects are very obvious. So I got here a game manager, which more or less, as the name would imply it, manages the state of the game. Then I got here the oak desk, apparently there in my controller, so maybe let's move this one down a bit. Then I got the manager for the video scene and the movie player. So this video scene manager there is responsible for handling all this FMV stuff. So here in the script, let me just show you quickly. Yeah, I got here the path, the video path folder. It's just this in my assets. It's just the folder name and the extension. Right now it's MP4 because of course. And the manager of the game, so that it can tell the game, I finished with the video, so carry on with whatever you were doing, and so on and so forth. And also the game can tell the video scene manager essentially, hey, you play another video scene. Then of course we need a reference to the canvas, where to play it, and the movie player component, not to be confused with the video player component. So the video player is what it says, it's a component that's provided by Unity to play videos. And my movie player component uses this video player component, but essentially just strings together individual scenes or clips essentially in scenes. So now it's already getting a little bit complicated, I guess, but the thing is essentially very simple, because this video scene manager takes scriptable objects which describe a video scene. So this is what we have here, the next video scene. So when this is not null, it will start whatever this scriptable object describes. So let me quickly head over to this scriptable object. So those are a scriptable object scene, and those are scriptable objects of type video clip. So video clip SO, as you can see here. So the difference is a scene just has a scene name, which is also a part of the file name. So once I have this scene name here, it will play all the clips that are starting with where, in this case for warehouse, 01, 02, 03, 03A, 03B, and so on. So I just say, yeah, the scene name is where, and whatever comes past it, I don't have to specify that this the scene name, essentially the file name that comes with the scene. So, and we got a starting clip for this scene, and this is where we have seen here this return negative, that I have here a couple of random starting clips. In this case, those were the clips that were picked randomly when we re-enter the manager's office. And we got here a scene to switch to when finished. So I'm not quite sure if I'm using this. Oh yeah, there I'm using this. So this is just not the video scene, but it's the Unity scene. So okay, we can already see a couple of naming convention code smells, so to speak. But again, like I said, this is just for my prototype. So I'm constantly, really constantly, when I'm finished doing something, cleaning up my stuff. So this might change to something that's more telling, that it says it's a Unity scene. In this case, yeah, we play this warehouse success, and after the playback is done, we switch to the ending scene, which is just this screen that says thanks for playing. So, and each, like I said, these scenes are made up of video clip SOs, and a scene only has a starting clip, because from there it pretty much flows by itself. So for example, we have here, this is the video clip for the warehouse start. So video name just says 00. So this is just, let me show you the actual file name. So this makes it a bit clearer, I think. Where do I have it? Streaming assets. So all my videos are here in the streaming assets folders. Vid SRC, so video sources folder, and there is a folder by the scene name. So this scene name, this name of the folder is actually the internal scene name of this video scene. And there are all the individual clips, where one W means waiting, or this is the idle animation, A, B, C, and so on. So, but at this point we already know that our scene is called where, so I don't need to specify this word where, just what comes after it. So 00 or 00W or 01A, and so on and so forth. This is exactly what's happening there. So yeah, video name for this case is 10A. So yeah, let's have a look at start here. And the next clip is none. So this means we got choices. And this is also the name of the choice idle video clip that's playing, as you've seen it when I was playing it. It was just this cut and cut back to the detective and the office manager, while we as players could read all the choices that we have. So, and this one here just says it got 3 choices, implemented up to 4 possible choices. And this is also a very simple class. I have an ID that I don't use for each choice, and then just a string that says, yeah, what kind of choice, and the video clip of this choice. And you can see where this is heading. Each video clip essentially says, does it have a choice? If so, then my movie manager, or yeah, it's what do I call it? Yeah, it's the movie player, sorry, generates all those choices and keeps track of which choice was selected, and so on and so forth, and then just plays or queues up the next choice or the next video clip as all. And once that video clip, door was open, doorman or bravado, then we get the next clip. And if it's not a choice, then it says once this clip is done and the last clip that doesn't have a clip that says a next clip, for example, toilet humor, or in this case, toilet humor, yeah, never mind. So this were 04. So this has no next clip. And if something doesn't have a next clip, the movie player will tell the video scene, hey, I have no more clips to play. And the video scene will tell the game manager, hey, the scene is finished. Do whatever you have to do, run your checks or anything. And yeah, that's about it. I got from Serious Sloth 14 something that I really can't. Where am I here? Something that I really can't tell, but it's a nice little doggy. Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, this is essentially how things are working out. So for those of you who have ever worked with Twine, let me just quickly boot this up. This is very familiar to you. There we go, FMV detective. So this is the dialogue we just saw, where we start here with the warehouse. Then we got a couple of choices, but in the end they all terminate to just the next clip, and there we got 3 more choices. So yeah, it's a very linear affair. But yeah, this is essentially how I outlined this little dialogue. It's more or less, I just wrote it here as a Twine game. And yeah, let's play this. So oh, there we go. Thank you for the bookmarks. Oh yeah, never mind. Wrong one. So yeah, this is the scene that you just saw, and there I can select one of the 3 options. So let's say bravado and the pain in the ass. What do you want? So yeah, just what you've seen there, and then continue. It converges again to the main path. In this case, there is only one path, but you can at least change here the reply of the detective and so on. So yeah, this was my way of laying out the layout. Yeah, you know what I mean. And this is essentially, yeah, what happens here with my video clips. And the most important thing is when a video clip got a number of choices, well, this was the random things here, got a number of choices. Each choice is also represented as a video clip. And yeah, this movie player or the scene video player, they just pick which choice, they keep track which choice was clipped and then clicked, and then keep on going. So the player itself, of course, I started with brackeys tutorials and then just added onto it and tried stuff out. But yeah, this is your very basic, or yeah, I got a mesh render here that's deactivated because I don't need it. But yeah, it's just your very rigid, basic, very rigid. It's your very basic rigid body player controller. There we go. So I got a player movement. So yeah, just that we know the camera and the player transform, which will be set at runtime. And here I can say how high the player is and the offsets for crouching and tippy toes. So yeah, those are in centimeters, because it's easier than, of course, walk and run speed and jump setting. But I decided not to use jump because I felt it was a little bit silly when you were jumping around, and also it was kind of glitchy what I came up with. So I thought, yeah, I don't really need jumping. It's enough when you just can look over the crates there when you're standing on your toes. And then I get the look interaction script, which also just is hooked up to the camera. And you can look at stuff, but not further than 10 meters away, because then, of course, things are too small to be looked at. What I want to do is to add this kind of distance at what you can look at something, not as a global variable as it is here. So pretty much everything is visible at 10 meters away, no matter if it's a huge crate or a tiny screw. If you can mouse over it and make the raycast work, then your character will tell what it is. And I think it's more interesting, or it would make more sense if I can say, yeah, this little screw, you can only discern what it is at a distance of 1 meter, and this huge statue you can see at 20 meters away. And the max distance examine, in this case, well, look and examine, this is the wrong variable. It should be interact, so it's just everything has to be at arm's length, because I found this very funny with the Tex Murphy games, where you also have this first person view, but no matter where you are in the level, if you can click it, you can interact with it, so you can open doors that are like 10 meters away. And oh, we got someone new here in the chat. Where is my damn it, where is my mouse pointer? There it is, and it's Twitch Chris. Hey everybody. So, where was I? Yeah, and my look interaction script, like I said, is just concerned with what you're pointing at, and yeah, what it says. And this label here is just the text label labels what you are seeing if it has some sort of name. And the layer mask is interactable. Yeah, I'm not quite happy with that right now, but yeah, I think it makes sense. If you just well, nothing, this is wrong. So only things that are on the interactable layer here are actually interactable, so I don't have to waste too many raycasts. And you can see here, for example, this oak desk that we've seen before that was interactable, but it is now here on the default layer. Well, how about that? But since I'm using this generic interactable script there, this one makes sure that I just can specify here a layer name. Maybe I should make this static. Yeah, never mind. This sets at awake time to make sure that everything that you can interact with, that has this interactable script on it, that puts it onto its onto the appropriate interactable layer there. Hope this makes sense. Okay, so this was the player where you can move and look. And then I got, of course, this fun little silhouette here that that gets moved around. Like I said, it's just for fun, so that you cast the shadow of this detective guy with collar and trench coat and hat. I just thought it was funny. And yeah, this is basically it. And of course we got here the mouse look script. Again, it was a little bit tricky to get it to work once I switched from the non-rigid body based controller and so on and so forth. But again, I'm very happy that I managed to get it to work with the rigid body and also with the new Unity input system, because there are not too many tutorials to be found for that. But I think I now got a hang of it, of how to do things. It's a bit of boilerplate code at places, but I'm good with that. So, and this is essentially it, because everything that you can interact with, this is where it gets really interesting and fun. For example, here, let me switch off the gizmos here. For example, come on, light map, you can do it. This little oak desk here. So you can, of course, interact with the desk. When you hover over it, as we've seen, it just says oak desk, but it also has these drawers there that you can pull out and pull in again. And this was a fun little exercise, because yeah, I really had to wrap my head around this whole object-oriented thing, and I think I came up with a good solution. So let me show it to you, and programmers among you, please speak up if I'm doing things that are completely stupid. Let me just find where is my project window. I think I've hidden it somewhere behind Unity. No, there, it's not there. Never mind. I think I can find it. Panels, inspector, scene. No, where's my project window? Oh damn, project. There we go. Cool. Okay. I've never closed this before. So yeah, those are my scripts, and you can see I got the video scene manager script, player movement, look interaction, location exit. Yeah, right, this is when you interact with a door. It has a handle essentially, so when you walk through this door into the scene, it will place the character essentially where you come out when you walk through a door. I didn't have this before, so when you were walking back into the manager's office, it would play this little scene, and then you're back in this warehouse first person view, but you were still facing the door, and it was a little bit yeah, disorienting. game manager, and there we go, generic pickable, generic interactable, and here the drawer test. And I got here this called interfaces, and I got here an interactable generic. Don't I got here an look at this, generic interactable and interactable generic. I think one of those I didn't use, but I don't know which one. But yeah, this is essentially my hierarchy of how I do things. Let me very quickly sketch it out to you so that I'm not getting tangled up when I'm trying to explain it with words. Essentially, it works like this. I got this interface that's only used as an interface. It's called interface interactable. And from this, everything that's a descendant of is, of course, well, interactive. So the first one that I got of interactable is, I got this generic interactable or interactable, let's call it generic, or no, let's call it interactable generic. This is just a plain vanilla implementation of this interface, because I think it's if something, you mark something as an interface, in this case it's an abstract class, you don't want to use it, I think. So let me get here this generic interactable. You can see here it says vanilla implementation of the interface, so it's just derived from this interface, and there we go. Then we got the generic pickable, which is also derived from the interactable class. Where do I have here my, there we go, my rectangle. What did I call it? Generic. Yeah, really, my naming convention is not that much of a convention. Generic. That's not how you spell generic. There we go. Pickable. This is also descended from interactable, from the interface. And now for anything that's special, that's not generic, but more special, for example, the MacGuffin, this glowing capsule that we had here. This one is derived from this generic pickable, because it has certain additional things going for it. Generic, let's say, specific object. Almost made it without a typo. And this, for example, here now the drawer test, this is again just a drawer, and a drawer is also an interactable. Let me get it here at the same level. But it, of course, drawers, since they are containers, they are a little bit special cases. Let's just call it a drawer interactable. So yeah, you can see the hierarchy is relatively flat. I think this specific objects that get derived from generic pickable, that's derived from the interface. I think this still works. It's not too much. I think it's you really have to be careful when you're working with object-oriented programming, especially if you're new to it. And you got this wonderful tool, this hammer, that is object-oriented programming, and everything can be a nail if you just nest it or derive it as much as possible. And in the end, you really don't know what is related to what, and you have to make like this kind of diagram here just to know for yourself where something is derived from what. And I really want to keep it the depth of this inheritance as shallow as possible. So the drawer interactable is my most let's put it most ambitious class so far. Let's have a look at this abstract class, the interface. So it got a name, essentially in this case it's the layer name on where this thing should go. Then it got a nice name, and this nice name is what's being displayed. So in the case of here the oak desk, the oak desk is of class generic interactable that just implements the interface, and it says oak desk. and we also got some flags, for example, discovered, because this is an adventure game. Maybe I want to have something that is not discovered, or market is not discovered. I'm not using this in this case right now, but it might come in handy. For example, if something is not discovered and you interact with it, then of course the detective says, look at this, it's a three-headed monkey. And then you set the flag for discovered, and the next time we interact with it, it says it's still a three-headed monkey. So yeah, just to get don't have to repeat their lines. The game doesn't have to repeat its lines, because I always feel that it's kind of weird, or a little bit distracting. It feels like, not natural. Then I got this counter here. Those are just integers, examined and interacted. So maybe I don't even need this discovered flag, but like I said, I just keep it in there. And let's switch over back to the code. So yeah, if you trigger interact and you allow the interaction, because sometimes you may not want an interaction to be allowed yet for some reason, so I always check against if interaction is allowed, then, and the voice asset interact fail is not null, I will get to this in a bit, well, then we interact. And this actually should happen. So yeah, if we don't allow interactions, then it should say, I can't reach it, or something like this, and we return. And otherwise we interact with it, we play the voice asset, and we increment the interaction. So yeah, very, very simple. And we also do this here with the examination, so we can interact and examine something. And I really want to encapsulate this so it's not a public variable for everyone. I mean, right now it's only the methods to increment the interactions are. Since I'm coming from Game Maker, I'm this big old hippie, so everything is public, every object can interact with any other object, sure, why not? Not even your variables are safe, so I'm gradually warming up to closing off certain things, or certain functions, certain variables, so that I don't have to essentially just untangle the mess, because it's a free-for-all and everything can write into everything else. Like I said, for Game Maker, it's wonderful if you're doing game jams and prototyping, because it's so fast. You don't have to write exosores or anything, but you shouldn't do this. Twitch Chris writes, I often use too much flags. It tends to make my code more readable. I'm a big fan of flags, because I feel, hey, it's just a boolean, it's just one bit. And so I mean, the good thing with flags is if you have too many, it doesn't really matter. The only thing, if when you have too many, you really should keep track of them all and make sure that they are all current in your code and are used where it makes sense, I think. Because otherwise, I mean, it's really good if you have a lot of flags to test against, because it's quick, and a flag is much quicker than testing to see if a certain component is part in the hierarchy, in the transform hierarchy of a certain game object. At least I would think. So and there is this one method that I have that's called do you own this collider, and it just provides a collider. And now this is where things are a bit more interesting or more tricky, because it works like this. Everything needs to have a collider, so I can shoot a ray and do a ray cast and test against this ray, because this I need to know which object we're looking at a given time to display what object it is, or so in general just the game knows what we're looking at or what we are trying to look at or interact. So for this, everything needs to have colliders. So, and this is why I make sure that all the colliders that are part of a game object, for example, let me make sure that you can see this, this desk, the oak desk A, this one here, which is this thing here in the editor, you can see here it has a lot of box colliders. Those I placed just manually. Just here's a quick preview of those box colliders. Those are placed manually because I think box colliders are much faster than doing a mesh collision check with even a low poly mesh. So I just placed them manually there. Just had to do it once, of course, and things are good. So, but of course, you maybe your geometry or maybe your game object is has multiple other game objects that aren't necessarily part of its hierarchy, and for this I made it possible to have here collider game objects. So I can just drag in other game objects here, and those colliders get added essentially to be part of this object as well. Not actually, they don't get the components, but for example, if I said this waste bin there, this collider is also part of this one here. No matter where it is in the hierarchy, when I mouse over it in the game, then this interactable will trigger and it will display the name Oak Desk, because this collider is part, at least, not actually, like I said, not part in the hierarchy, but conceptually part of this object. I hope this makes sense. So in Visual Studio, this is what happens here. So on awake, this is an internal virtual function. So we make sure that we are on the correct layer. So because this is during testing, I forgot for some of my objects to put them on the interactable layer, and my raycasts wouldn't get registered. And for half an hour, I just looked at the code, but the code should work, but it doesn't work. And it took me way too long to realize, all right, I need to put it on the right layer. So because I tend to forget things like this, I try to automate pretty much everything that I can. So I really, as when I'm doing the levels or anything else, the game objects, at least this is my philosophy, they should manage themselves as good as they can, and if not, they should cry out and say, "Mama, why did you forget to tell me which my collider is?" I don't know why my game objects have this voice, but apparently they do. They're just little babies with an very indistinct accent. So on awake, unless overridden, first thing is we put whatever this interactable is on the correct layer, and the next thing is here for each child we do the same thing, because we got here the drawers we want to interact with and so on. So pretty much everything there in this hierarchy should be part of should be on the correct layer. Ash F says, if that voice doesn't show up in this game, maybe I have a game object that is just lying there waiting for you to be found. I hope it's not getting too obnoxious the longer you listen to it. And the final thing that's been done on Awake is gather colliders, and here we are. So first it's colliders. Let me scroll up there. Colliders, where is it? There we go. Colliders is a list of colliders. So first we add all the colliders that are in the same game object. Then we add all the colliders we can find in the children. And finally, we look through this other source of colliders that I've just shown you before, this array of other game objects, and add those colliders and in their children all those colliders to the list. So the purpose for this is now we get a list of references to colliders, and once we get asked, hey, do you own this collider, from the mouse look script, the mouse interact script, and it just passes a collider to this interactable, and the interactable itself will say, well, if we got colliders, of course, then we just go through the list one by one and see if the collider that's provided is part of our children colliders, of the colliders in this game object, and so on and so forth. So once, if this collider is to be found among any of those colliders, then we return true. And I even got this wonderful debug line, I own collider. And the collider's name. So this is pretty much everything that there is to this interactable. We can increment the interactions. We just keep track of how often it has been interacted with. We can also reset the discovery. What does it do? Well, it resets the flag. Reset examinations. Well, it sets the integer to 0. And same thing here. What the hell did I do? Oh, I just closed everything. So this is just, like I said, the abstract class, the interface, and it derives from a mono behavior because we're in Unity after all. And yes, finally I provided you with this wonderful bit here, the voice asset SO. I always suffix my scriptable objects with SO, that I know, okay, it's not a class, it's a scriptable object. So the voice assets should be the inner monologue of the detective. So when you examine something, for example, my desk fan, the detective should say, "Ah, look at that, it's my biggest fan," for example. So, and this should be played in a voice asset. And why not just an audio clip, but why did I go the route to make this, well, this rather more abstract thing of voice assets? Let me just find the implementation there, interfaces, structures, voice asset, there we go. So right now it's just a sketch, but it should have here the string, the short version, a subtitle, because maybe especially with FMV games, I would assume people would like subtitles, and of course an audio clip. And the thing is to add possibility to play a random clip. Well, in this case, yeah, like I said, I'm not quite sure about this implementation. But I'm already thinking of providing a good way of doing localization. So if I just say, yeah, get this audio clip and use this string like it is here, essentially, it would probably be pretty hard if you at one point would decide to use a different language, for example. So I want to have some sort of localized scriptable object, so that it would always know which current language we have, and this object would just be, yeah, you would have, for example, the English text and a reference to the English string, or not even a reference, it would hold the English string, the German string, the Italian string, the Spanish string, and also for each of those strings, should there be one, the audio clip of the voice line. And all you provide the interactable with is this localizable object, and this and it would just ask the object, hey, give me this line, and the localized thing would know, okay, currently the current language is Italian for subtitles, and for voiceover it's French, and it would provide just the reference to the French audio clip, and return the string to the Italian subtitle if I said Italian. And oh my god, Red Hermit subscribed at tier 1. Thank you so much. Woo! I got another subscriber, man. This again, I should pay more attention to the chat. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. Oh. And Red Hermit even gifted a sub. Oh my god, so many wonderful things are happening in the chat, and I'm just going Italian strings. Italian strings, I think those are called spaghetti. Then that's why it's called spaghetti code. The more you know. Yeah, this is at least my rationale in terms of localization. So I always have this on the back burner somewhere, that I know, yeah, it might be a good idea to put in a layer of abstraction that I don't need to go through each string manually and then find a way of doing the localization. Cool, so this is why it's called, this one is a voice asset, but right now, yeah, this won't stick probably, at least not in this case. And this is what the interactable, in this case here the desk, is the voice asset for examine and interact, and examine and fail and interact fail. I can't reach this from here, or I don't see this, something like this. And yeah, this is at least the general idea behind this. Okay, so if something is interactable, let's go back to the drawer, because like I said, the drawer is just derived from the interface interactable, and the class is still called drawer test. Maybe I should rename it as well. So of course, now we got some drawer specific fields. For example, is open, and an animator, because I want the drawers to be animated, and also here an array of game objects for contained game objects. As you've seen before, let's run this scene again. And the first thing before doing this is here in my video scene manager. Like I said, when the next video scene is not null, it will play whatever scene is there, so I just make it none. Otherwise, we would start at this introduction dialogue. The FMV scene in the introduction going on. So, oh, by the way, I can also hold shift to run, because this is always nice. So here we got the oak desk, and when I open this, you can see here this magical MacGuffin in here. Yeah, is part of this drawer. What I thought would be nice, if you can see it here, the capsule MacGuffin is not in the hierarchy of neither this little oak desk or the other one, but instead it gets added at runtime. I'm not quite sure why I made this decision, but I think it was just easier that you can say, yeah, I want to grab all those objects no matter where they are in the hierarchy, and just tell the drawer itself, yeah, those are inside of you. The thing is, right now it doesn't do any kind of placement. It just parents it to this drawer object. So if something is there on top of it, like we have here this MacGuffin, and I open the drawer, this happens. It opens with the drawer and then becomes a rigid body, or a dynamic rigid body in a sense. So yeah, but I like this because when you open the drawer, this thing rolls towards you like it would when it were in a drawer like this. So I like this. Okay, but you can see here from this oak desk, this is how the hierarchy is. So we got here this oak desk itself. It got here, of course, a mesh and a mesh renderer and a bunch of colliders and a generic interactable. It's just marked as an interactable. So for now, it just has a name. So you can't examine it. We just know that it's an oak desk. Because I think some things would be nice if you look at them, but you haven't examined them. You haven't used the look command on something. So you just say a weird rock. And then you examine it and it's, must be some kind of counterweight. And then it reads counterweight, and so on and so forth. So this is why I thought it would be nice to have this generic interactable script that would keep track of the number of interactions. Okay, so this is the base, the root object, and then we got draw right and draw left. Let's have a look at draw right, and it only has a transform and this draw test script. So again, it has here those things are derived from the interactable, and here are the draw specific parts, and it has no animator right now, and here no contained objects. And this animator here I added manually because, as I mentioned in the beginning, apparently it's not possible to have this controller, this animator controller object be in the build, because this is what I had before. In this drawer specific, I only said, yeah, what's your animator controller? Because if it's a drawer, you might want to reuse this for other drawers. So essentially you always have the same animator controller, because a drawer just is interested in opening and closing. So no matter if it's a desk drawer or a file cabinet drawer or anything, the animation essentially is the same. This is what I wanted to do, but it doesn't work, so this is why I had to add this animator manually. And yeah, this is the reason for this. And finally, the drawer mesh itself. It has here just those box colliders, so that once we hover over it, we know that our raycast from the camera should collide with it and tell, yes, this is the drawer, and when we click it, we can interact with it. Another neat thing about this get mouse position from camera is, let me zoom in a bit more. If I hit my right mouse button now, I can use the mouse but not move the camera, and even when I'm hovering over certain things, it would still do the raycast from the mouse position and not there just from the camera center, like it would so. Okay, zooming in made this very choppy, so I just show it to you like this. So which I thought is kind of neat, because maybe you want to do you don't want to run around and just use the mouse to click to interact with things, because I would feel a little bit nauseous when I'm just moving my head for everything and not just my mouse pointer. This was the whole rationale of doing this like this. Red Herman says, didn't mean to distract you. No worries, those distractions are always the best, and you didn't, because apparently, like I said, completely forget about the chat when I'm just going ahead. And Ender42 says, and if you modify a for each variable while looping, you'll get weird and consistent errors. I made myself use for all the time just to be sure. Oh, this I didn't know. I thought this for each variable is pretty much the most comfortable and bulletproof method. So you would say I would use for var I equals 0 and get the length of everything, and then just use a for loop then. Okay, so I think I should be on the lookout then, because I thought, look at this is so much quicker than using the old for loop. I just use for each and have everything I want here in 2 lines. But okay, thanks for the heads up. Yes, back to the drawer test. So yeah, what do we here on awake? Well, we do what our base class does on awake. We get all the colliders. We make sure that we are on the right layer. And then we also make sure that we have the animator and the controller ready. So this, what you can see here is commented out, is that actually the animation controller, the animator controller gets also passed to the animator, because again I want to make sure here in my awake statements that when I forget to add a certain component, another component would rely on, for example, as we have here, my drawer needs an animator component, and should I forget to add one in the editor, on awake it would know by itself that it needs an animator. So if animator is null, well, then we look for an animator component. Maybe it's already there. Okay, if we don't have an animator component, well, then we add an animator component. But if this still doesn't work, then we throw a log error, or, well, actually it should be a warning. But yeah, you know what I mean. Cursibu says, I think there are trade-offs. As always, there are trade-offs. So yeah, like I said, I will stick with my for each loops for now. But yeah, as soon as I run into problems, I will go the good old for loop, I think. Andrew says, for is faster and more stable. For each is good for getting properties. Okay, so if I'm not reading properties, I just use for as... So you mean for each is cool if I just read stuff, and I should use a for loop if I modify stuff. Got it. So you know what? Let me write this down that I don't forget. For each best for properties. Okay, so it's more code writing. God, I hate writing. But programming is so much fun. I really having a blast doing all this. So again, here on Awake, like I said, it should look for an animator component. If not, it should create an animator component. And the thing here is, like I said, I really want to have to do this programmatically. Right now I have to do it manually, which is another source for errors, which I don't like. So yeah. But normally I would just use the drawer, animator, controller, and have it add itself to the animator. And of course we want to parent the contained objects. This is what I said there before with this capsule, that if there are contained objects, then for each of those it would just transform itself to the first child. Why the first child? Again, I have here this debug error message, and usually when I have some log error message like this means, I know that this is not bulletproof while I'm programming this, so I just throw in a log error so that at least when I'm having strange issues, for example, when I'm animating drawers that don't have children, at least I get a message that something is in this general direction for me to look for errors. Because, where we are, there we go. Because the drawer itself is an empty game object and the mesh is a child object. The reason for this is the drawer animation is relative to the position, but of course absolute to the transform of the child node, I think. Hope I'm not saying it wrong, but there, for example, my animation always starts at 0 and draws the drawer out for 40 45 centimeters. I think this is the value that I ended up with. And then we pull it back in, but of course it always has to be this 42 centimeters in the direction, in the front direction, wherever the drawer is facing. So you know what? I haven't actually tried this. Let's give it this a quick test. So if I rotate this desk here, let's say by something like this, man, I really hope that the drawers themselves extend like you would expect them to. Oh, good, thank God. Okay, this works. The animation is always relative to this object. Oh, this is good. The less you have to think when you're populating levels with stuff like this, the better. So this is why I want to make sure that my code is relatively bulletproof as possible, that I don't have to fret over things like this when I'm not anymore in the coding mode and really want to populate my levels. And this is pretty much what's being done here in the drawer test. We just try to get all the colliders as the interactable, as the abstract class there already has here in its awake method. Here we just inherit this method and expand upon it by adding an animator and making sure that should there be anything, any game objects flagged as those are inside the drawer, that they get parented as well. But again, right now they just get parented at their current world position. So if I say this crate is inside this drawer, it doesn't snap to this origin position or anything, it just moves with the drawer wherever in the world it may be. So on start I just hash, maybe I could also do these hashes there in the awake function. Yeah, I just hash those strings because with the animator I think you only communicate via strings, open, close, and is open. So those are just the three values that I have in the animator controller. We can have a look at this one as well. It's not very exciting. Animations drawer. So I got here just when we enter, we are in the closed state, and all the fields that I have is open and trigger open or close, and the transition here, well, if open, then we play the open animation, and then we idle here, we loop on the drawer open idle animation, and the idle animation is just the drawer that's pulled out one keyframe. But I thought it might be nice to have maybe something is open and then animated in some way or another. So this is why I went the route for having this as an individual animation clip. And again, of course, when we are open and we trigger close, then we play the close animation, and when it's closed, then, oh yeah, of course, I can here set to close and set to open. You can see here those are deactivated. Yeah, I was just playing around with state machine code, which I didn't use in the end. So cool. So yeah, this is, I'm just hashing those names there because, like I said, I can only provide them as strings. And the initial value, well, if is open, then is open equals true, or else is open is false. During the update method, we do some debugging logs, and when we interact with something, we should maybe look at when this interact method is called. You can see here it is public. So the thing that is able to call these interact methods is, let's have a look at player. And there in the player I have the look interaction script, and this script again is just the one that is looking through the camera and looks at, yeah, just does a raycast at mouse position. Where do I have it? Look interaction, and this script is, yeah, it's also very, very simple. Essentially, we just here get the references to the input. This is, yeah, the new input system. And of course, yeah, just trying to find the camera if it didn't get wired up. Again, I'm just trying, okay, if the camera is null, okay, maybe we can get it there in the player component. Okay, probably there is no camera in the player component. Maybe it's in the children components of the camera. Well, if it's still 0, then we try to look for the main camera in the scene. And if we still haven't found the scene, then we throw an error and say, yeah, we didn't find a camera. Sorry, there's nothing we can do. And on enable and on disable, this is just for the input, of course, for the new input system. Yeah, that we don't have any memory leaks, so we just enable or disable. First person is just the class of, or the input group. So when we're in first person mode, that W means forward and left click means interact and so on and so forth. So, and during the update, what do? We get the focus. Because I'm half-assed thinking about adding controller support, I'm not calling this mouse position, I just call this where is currently the focus. If you just unlatch the mouse from the center of the screen and you get the mouse cursor back, the focus is wherever your mouse is, unless you're moving with the mouse, you're having the mouse look, then it's of course it's in the center of the screen. So we just get the mouse position and the text label. Again, this is the label that tells us here what we are looking at. Yeah, we just make its string empty. Then we shoot array from the focus, the camera position of where we're currently pointing. And yeah, basic raycasting thing, of course here with the layer mask, because we only want to check against whatever is on the interactable layer. And when we hit something with our ray, okay, then we walk up all the colliders hierarchy until we find the I interactable component. Because all interactables, the generic pickable, the generic interactable, the MacGuffin, everything is derived from this abstract class, the I interactable. Only that I have to do here is, sorry, wrong one, look interaction, there we go. Like I said, like this comment says, we just walk up the hierarchy until we hit the first component, the first parent that has an I interactable. And this one is, well, it's not, well, this one, the one that we have as a parent of the object, whatever object we hit, is probably the one that's managing it. I think this worked out. Okay, stuff in the chat going on. Red Hermit says, I was late to the stream start. Did Phil already say how long he's been working on this and what version of Unity he's using? I haven't actually. I think I've said I've been working on this for 2 weeks on and off with all the other video stuff and of course my full-time job. So yeah, I'm just managed to sneak in an hour or two each day, but yeah, it slowly builds up. And currently I'm working with the latest and greatest Unity version, just because I want to make sure that I'm not left behind. So I'm working with 2020 10F1, not because I'm using any of those features, but I think it might be good if I start a new project, I start with the very latest Unity version. Until something is obsolete when that I rely upon, and then I'm not able to upgrade to the next version until the game is finished, because yeah, you shouldn't start or keep updating your game with the engine, because it's a never-ending cycle. But so far I'm good, and for my purposes the most important part is to use the high definition render pipeline, because I want to make everything look just wonderful. And as you can see here, we already got film grain and bloom and mapping and fog going on. I will show this in a bit, but yeah, I love my graphics. So this is why I constrained myself to having just this one little test level, this section in a warehouse for now, because it's not too wide or not too far reaching that I'm able to polish it in a sensible amount of time. That does look really good. Oh, thank you, Elab. And it's not even textured yet. Cool. So yeah, again, we are here in the update method and we just hit array. We just shot array from the mouse position or the center of the screen, and we hit something, and then we just looked in its hierarchy wherever there is the I interactable component. I'm very aware that this apparently is a costly operation, but I think for now I'm good. But I don't know about the performance impact of doing this like literally every frame in every update method. Red Hermit says, nice, thank you, great progress for just the past couple of weeks. Yeah, when you start something from zero, everything you make is great progress, and then the more intricate something gets. I mean, I spent 2 hours yesterday just getting this drawer animation correct. And from the outside, I think the project grew by like 50 kilobytes, but everything else that happened was just in the code. So it's not something that you would see at first glance. I mean, when you add your mouse look controller, okay, you can look now. This looks like a big difference to what I had yesterday. Then you add some blocks, and the more you add, with each iteration, the smaller your increments of progress, at least that you can see, get. But so far, I'm quite content with it. How long have you been thinking about it, though, establishing a solid version before starting the project in Unity? Yeah, I haven't thinking about it much, actually. I'm just going through it. I'm just essentially, it's just okay, I got this done, now I need to do this. Okay, I probably need to rethink 3 of my systems that I have at this point. But the good thing is, like I said in the beginning, where you probably have missed it, usually I started with, okay, before doing anything, I need to make a flow chart and stick to this flow chart. And oh my god, so many edge cases I can think of. Then I'm sitting at McDonald's or Starbucks for 5 hours, scribbling pages of flow charts of all the edge cases. And then when I sit down to program it, it takes weeks. Like I said, I don't have a lot of time to do programming, and most of the time, because the system itself is already so complicated, and most of the time I give up before I have something barely workable, and all this work, that mental work that I poured into it is for naught, because in the end what's on the screen is what's on the screen, and no matter how elaborate the systems underneath are, if they don't work, that you can run something, nobody will notice all the work. And this is why I decided for this game, no, I hard code everything until I see a good reason to modularize it or make it a little bit more driven by scriptable objects, for example. And so far with this one, it served me well that I still have kept up my motivation to keep adding to it without being just knocked over the head by the relentless club of overly complex systems that you tangle yourself up. You get tangled up from just by your own merit. And this really, like I said, I try to avoid it with this one. Red Hermit played applause for 100 bits. Oh, thank you. I didn't know I have sounds there, but this is great. Thank you. I really should put more into my Twitch presentation, because as you probably have noticed, I'm not a Twitcher. But so far, I'm barely keeping up with what the cool kids are doing. Okay, back to our update. So we shot the ray. We finally got our eye interactable. So, and if we didn't get our interactable, well, then nothing was hit or no interactable was found in the hierarchy. But if we found an interactable, well, we ask this interactable whether it knows the collider we just hit. And if you recall from before, each interactable has a list of all the colliders in itself and in its child hierarchy. So the answer should be yes, because again, if it's an interactable, it should possess a reference to the collider. So if the answer is yes, then we can display the label text, and this is the nice name. Let's pick something there. Where do I have it? There, the Oak Desk, and then it displays this name. Nice, that is Oak Desk. And well, of course, and this happens every frame when we look at something, and when we look at something, and it has, well, we don't even see if there's a collider that we can take the name of. Maybe, you know what, maybe I should add this, that it needs to have a collider so we can interact with it. So let's move this in there. Gee, I hope I'm not breaking things. So the collider we are shooting our ray at, if this is part of any interactable derived class, and we use the interact button, the interact button was triggered, in my case it's the left mouse button, then we just say with this interactable, interact, whatever this means. Again, this is a abstract class, so whatever is derived from it, it should do something when it's being interacted with. But of course, our look interaction script doesn't have to know what this means. It only says, hey, you, whatever you are, you've been interacted with, do what you will with this knowledge. And also the same thing here for examine. So I'm in my game, I'm just again, I'm following what Tex Murphy Adventures are doing. Most of the things you can just look at or interact with. Of course, there are things that you can switch on and off, but again, I don't see a reason why to have even on and off, because when something is on, you can interact with it, and then it's off. And when you interact with something that's off, well, then it's on if it's possible to switch it on. So I think if you look at something and examine something, for my game, at least for these purposes, I think this should be enough. Yeah, and this is pretty much everything that happens here in my look interaction script. And the drawer we just have seen. If the drawer now receives this interact request there, well, it first does what the base class does when it's being interacted with. If the interaction is allowed, then we just increment the interactions counter, because this makes sense for all objects that are interactable. But the drawer itself, well, I'm also debugging here. Well, it's not really interesting. And yeah, I commented this out that when we are not in a transition, well, first we get the bool of animation bool is open hash. Again, this is just here the hash, this hashed string to essentially we're checking here in the animator, hey, is this open? And if it's not open, well, then it's closed. So we play the open animation. It says here in the log do open. I don't think I need all those logs here. And look at this. If the animator says it's not open or it is open, then we play the animation to close it. Whatever this animation will be, we don't care. We just tell the animator to set the trigger to close or to open, and the animator itself should do what it will with this information. So I hope this is not too stinky in my code approach. But again, like I said, I like to have the objects, if possible, to manage themselves, or at least try to find all the necessary sub components that they need and get references to those components as soon as they are in the awake method. So everything should be there when it should be called, when it is called. And again, if it doesn't find an animator in this case, and it doesn't find one in its component, doesn't find one in its children, it's not even able to add one, only then it tells us, hey, there has been a problem, I exhausted all the possibilities that I have. So I hope this is good coding practices. And look at this, now everything else is very simple, because now I can say here generic pickable, and this is, yeah, pickable, can we pick this one up? And the interact is just, hey, if it's not pickable, then we don't allow it to pick it up. Otherwise, we interact with it, and for now, it says here, for now, destroy. But of course, if you pick something up that you can interact with, you might want to add it to an inventory. So this is probably one of my next tasks, is to add at least the concept of an inventory. Because a pickable item, as I see it, I think it would need, of course, a mesh, a 3D object, a collider even, of course, for the raycast, but also maybe a sprite associated with it. So once you put it in the inventory, it has a sprite associated with it. Then, of course, what to do when you look at it, when you examine it. But thankfully, because it's derived from interactable, from the interface, all those are already there, those fields, I can use them. And what's also interesting is if you should you take something out of your inventory, then you need to instantiate, of course, the mesh, the game object of this thing, and to have it in your hand. Ender42 says, so I just ran a quick test looking at a list and an array of 10 billion. List for 0.008 seconds and list for each 0.01 seconds. Okay, so this is much faster than doing the good old for than with a for each. Man, this is quite, I mean, it's more than 10 times faster, is it? If I'm not using for each. And array for each is 0.003 seconds. Thank you. My phone is already laughing at those numbers. Yeah, I'm using a list and not an array because I had an array before, but had troubles with that. Let me find it here. Yeah, I'm using here a list because I don't know how many colliders I will need or I will add in the end. And doing this, I mean, I only need to do it here once in the awake. So I think it's okay if I do this the slow way once by just using a list and adding to the list. I mean, of course, I could, once I have this list, I could turn it into an array when I'm done, just to have this checking whether a collider is part of the children faster. So you know what, maybe I should do this. So once I have this list, where are we? Sorry, this is yeah, the interactable. Interactable. So list to array after gathering colliders. Cool, yeah, so this should be faster. Oh, Android Hermit has it done again and gifted someone a subscription. Thank you so much. This is, man, spreading the love. This is really nice. Thank you so much. If you don't do much lists, we're okay. Yeah, I think the amount of objects we'll have in those lists are below at max 50 or so. I don't think I have anything with more than 50 colliders, even with child objects. So I think, let's knock on wood, I should be good. But at least, yeah, this is a good point for optimization later, because always the way of I'm testing things is I compile it and then try to run it on my cheap Microsoft Surface tablet. And if it runs there, even at a half decent rate, I'm not bothering to optimize. But I saw you use it in update. That would slow down as your game gets bigger. Yes, I would think so. I mean, let's walk through it. What actually is happening? So I need to. Oh my God, this is so small. Which one did I have open before? I think I closed it. So let me find the right script again. Where is it? Scripts. Look interaction. It happens here in look interaction there. On my update method, yeah, again, on each frame, I'm looking to get the interactable component in a hierarchy. So this might already be, well, it's not a red flag, but it's not a green one either. So this might already be problematic because it's a do while. So if I got a horrible nesting going on, this, and every time we get to one of the layers or hierarchy levels, I'm doing a get component search each frame. So this might be a little bit costly. And the next thing is, once this is done, on top of that, we asked the interactable that we're pointing at, do you own this collider? So I think I might not be in the green again with this, but I think because it's only one object that's doing all these checks. It's only the mouse look interaction. And it's only doing this when we are, well, of course, it doesn't do it when we are in an FMV sequence. But then again, FMV sequences probably use up the least amount of system resources. Essentially, it's just playing back a QuickTime or MP4 movie. So yeah, for now, I think, those I could mark, especially this line here, this get component in a do while loop in the update method. This, I think this might be a good point. Maybe optimize this somehow. Maybe I could get all the interactable components as I do it on the awake method and then only check if something changed in the hierarchy. and then run this update method again, so that I don't have to do it like this, and instead can use a for loop each time when I'm checking. Yeah, might be something along those lines. Cursiboo says profile. Yes, of course I could do profile my game, but then again, I don't know why, because I myself suggest to people to profile their game, because we got a profiler there. Just look at the curves, you will easily see where things are starting to be problematic. But it's my reason why I don't look at profilers, at least prematurely, is because it's like a sport to me. Once I realize where I can optimize something, then I try to really tease out the last bit there, and the problem is my code gets even worse and even more obtuse to read, because of course you're optimizing, so you make some assumptions, but when you're prototyping, speed really isn't the problem there. It might be down the line when your prototype becomes too horrid to even assess it properly of what's going on. But again, in my opinions, it's I like to keep my code as clean and legible as I can without worrying about optimization until it becomes an issue. Yeah, but again, it's like a sport. I have pure basic programs where I used assembly code to copy bytes, and I looked at it at the generated assembly code when I was using the pure basic keywords. And did my own assembly copying, and essentially it's just the same thing. Just load this into accumulator A and then move it to this address. Actually, I was doing precisely what already the compiler was doing for me, but it felt like my solution was a little bit faster. Yeah, never mind. So this, yeah, but profiling at least should be maybe I should do it once or twice to see if, yeah, everything is working smoothly. But this function here gets called 12,000 times per frame. Maybe look into that. Cool. Okay. And what I really like about my current implementation with all those scriptable objects and so on is that things are, especially here for prototyping, are pretty easy to expand upon. Okay, so let's try this. You know what? I want to add another object that you can interact with. So let's make a new capsule. Yeah, sure. Why not this one? Why not make it a huge, ugly capsule here? And you should be able to pick it up. So I think all I need to do is this capsule here. Since it has already a capsule collider to it, I just add a component and say generic pickable. And I call this big bad capsule because it looks really big and bad. So it's pickable, this is true, we haven't interacted with it, and this should be it. So if everything works, then we should have... Yeah, this is wonderful. So when you know what, let's maximize this on play, that it's not too small on your screen there, so that when maybe move the project window outside there and zoom in a little bit more. No, this was escape. No, where is my mouse? I've lost my mouse right now. There it is. Okay. Good, let's zoom in. This is what I wanted to do. Okay, so this is already cool, that when I'm moving my mouse over this big bad capsule, it already reads the label there, so it works. I mean, right now I'm colliding with it, which is also good. And when I click it, it's gone, and I should have it in my inventory later on. And as simple as that, I just added a new object that I can pick up to my game. This is wonderful. This is I've never tried this before, to be honest. But this is exactly what I wanted with all my scriptable objects and derived classes and inheritance, horror, and so on. That I just add something to the scene, give it the right component, and it works with pretty much everything that I have. You know what? I want to show you perhaps some of my sketches for ideas that I have, because right now I've only shown you what was there, but not what was the overall idea, what you actually should be doing, what is the intention that should be possible in this level. And yeah, let me just find my sketches, because it might be interesting. If not, please let me know, and then we do something else. I don't know, play solitaire in a DOS box. Okay, so there we go. This is my briefcase with all the important stuff in it. My tablet, my notepad, Starbucks napkins, and of course the Pixel Prophecy notepad. And for this game, I think the most fun game, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're working on a game and you're very motivated, and the most fun part is to just sit down, grab a pencil or a pen and just scribble all your amazing ideas down. And this really helps me when I'm trying to figure out, what to do next, what is important, what I'm looking forward to doing, and so on and so forth. And this is my way actually of problem solving, is I just draw what I want to do, and then I realize, okay, from the architecture this doesn't work, or maybe, okay, so I need to pick up this object, but this I don't. So already having in the back of my head some implementation details, or at least I get an idea of the problems that I might be facing. Red Hermit says, do show... no, this was not Red Hermit. Red Hermit says, yes, sketches the origin story to this fabulous idea. Thank you for the fabulous. And Ender says, do show, please. It's really cool. Okay, so let's try this and switch over to Big Me. And this, let's try it like this. Okay, so I think if I keep it at an angle, this works. Okay, so this is just the overall idea I have of the level layout and so on. Just got some ideas, wrong hand here, for this is how the wall should look like. This is just some basic architectural sketches, a very quick idea of a thumbnail of how I want it to look, and already got some labels of interactable things and so on. The story, at least for this prototype, is as you've seen it from the beginning FMV sequence. The office manager tells us off unless if you don't let me just find it. If you don't have anything on me, I suppose you'll see yourself out. So we need to find something, because we suspect that there's something fishy going on in this warehouse, and he's throwing us out of his office, but we're still moseying around the factory floor, or in this case, this part of the warehouse. So what my intention is, let me switch over again to the game. So we exit here from his office, and then we can look around, and we should find here where this table is currently. We find a bunch of crates and a crowbar, and we can of course use the crowbar to open the crates. But inside the crates, our detective will say it's only old newspapers. But it's marked with urgent and so on, and our detective wonders why someone would urgently send newspapers around. But we in this part here, there will be locked compartments, and those are locked with padlocks. So first we want to find maybe a key to the padlock. So we maybe return, and we find here this filing cabinet and this desk here, and there on this side should also be a board with keys, and the keys that are there are numbered. They have the same numbers as the compartments, and there's only one key that's not missing, and of course it's the key that we need there. So it's just a very short and very straightforward key. I am not even trying to use the word puzzle, because it's just fetch the key from there. But then we find there on this wall maybe here or on this side we find a fuse box, but one of the big block fuses is missing. So maybe we want to find a way that we can that we use the block fuse. Also on this wall here, well, not exactly there, but maybe on this wall, on this position, there is a light switch with which you can switch off the lamp that is in this big anteroom before us. So we can switch it off and then everything is dark, and we say, yeah, but now it's dark. Okay, so what? So apparently this switch box with one block fuse missing is not connected to the light switch there, otherwise we wouldn't have lights. So maybe we want to find the light switch or the fuse to try out what this does when we power it. So maybe we examine a little bit further here, and in one of those drawers, if you can see it, one drawer has a lock here. I'm not quite sure where to hide the key for this lock, but maybe there is, well, actually I have an idea. And when we examine it, there's a crumpled note there, as there always is in such games, in the waste paper bin, and it just reads, Jimmy got in again, I taped the key under the table. So this is where the crouch feature comes in. So we just crouch and see probably here a taped key, and this key unlocks this drawer here. And in this drawer we find the missing block fuse that we can put into this fuse box that should be here. Then we hear some kind of circuits being connected. It clanks and rumbles, but yeah, the light just flickers a little bit, and that's it. And our detective wonders, so yeah, what was this all about? And yeah, then we might the flickering light here should provide us at least some kind of nudge that, yeah, maybe we should do something with the light switch again. So maybe our detective heads out here and hits the light switch again and turns off the big light here that we have in front, this big one here. But now that this light is off, suddenly through the cracks of the wall there is a light source that's coming through some cracks in the otherwise undisturbed brick wall there. And there's also a hole, a circular hole around a couple of centimeters in diameter, just one or two. And this is the place when we go there and apply our crowbar that we still possess, a little bit of force to. Bam! It nudges, it rumbles, and we uncover a secret passage there, or not so much a passage, it's just we open up a secret room that is behind here. And in this room, it's very small, it's very cramped, and we find some sacks of money reading national treasury something with the money, the bills of money just sticking out, and more crates just like those here in the anteroom. And those crates are topped with old newspapers. So apparently, if our detective would have just dug a little bit deeper in those crates that there are marked for urgent shipping, then he would have probably discovered that underneath a couple of layers of old newspapers is money or many bundles of bills from a recent bank robbery. So with this knowledge, we can return to the office manager and say, I know what's in the crates. And this is how this cutscene should play out. At least this is how I came up with. I'm well aware that it's probably too straightforward or not that interesting a puzzle. But again, is this just my ideas of how I want to try to see how I can implement this and make it all work. And like I said, as you've probably noticed, is for my sensibilities, I want to have it look as nice as possible. So this is why I'm looking very much forward to texturing and shading this little section here. And also on this far wall here, this is where I want big windows. You can't really look outside, but when you walk closer, you can hear the rain outside, and maybe every 1.5 minutes or so, a flash lights up the room through those windows, and a couple of seconds later you hear the thunder. So I really I'm very much looking forward to this. I have no idea if I will be able to pull it all off, but at least it's just, I really want to get this very polished. And the cool thing about this is I just realized that I was referring to something on the screen that you couldn't see. Sorry. I meant this wall here, the far side of the wall. There should be 2 big windows there with a thunder and the thunderstorm that's visible outside, or at least audible outside. Red Hermit says, very nice introduction to the game mechanics for the player, working through that level. Oh yeah, thank you. I hope. Or nice Easter egg, not to Half-Life. Of course, I want some fun quip of the detective when he picks up the crowbar. I think I have a line it's like, a good old crowbar. You don't have to be a physicist to use one of these. Or as a tool as simple, you don't have to be a physicist to use it. Something along those lines. This would be like those little Easter eggs, so when you know. But even if you don't, it's not too pop cultural reference, because again, this plays in the 1940s. At least this is how it's supposed to play out, so that it's not anachronistic in any way, where my detective says, oh, look at this, even there's another Twitch streamer going on. Maybe I use this, but then it's Twitch is maybe the name of a company, and the streamer is just a boat that's going on, something along those lines. Yeah, I'm not quite sure yet, but yeah, at least this is, right, to get back to my sketches, at least this is how I envision this scene to play out. And now to get back here, let me try it like this. Yeah, already made some to-dos here and some sketches for props that I need. I did a lot of research again in the 1940s. There weren't so many color photographs, so I just spent I don't know how many hours just researching photos. And yeah, this is more scenery. This is, you can see here, this is already a bit later, from 26th of July. We already had ideas here for this little office there with the desk planner, and there's a calendar, and there's a light, and so on and so forth. And also have here, there was still a drawer with fuses in the filing cabinet. Yeah, and how the office manager door should look like. There's a metal plate at foot level, so warehouse workers, of course, because they might be carrying stuff, they would just kick open the door. So this is why they put a plate of metal down there, that they won't kick in the door and it would break or so. So those are just all the little ideas that I have. And then at a certain point, you know me, I want to make things look nice. And here is the first UI design sketches. I was thinking about, if you look at this thing here, this is just like an old bakelite telephone, black plastic and screws for resume settings, or differently, maybe something like the old Monopoly paper money. So it's a cheap print, something like this. And we continue here with inventory concepts. So I thought, yeah, maybe let's make the inventory on the lower bar. Whenever you move your mouse to the bottom edge of the screen, it would pop open, or the good old console ring menu, or the same thing as the bottom row, but just on the side. But I think I'm most comfortable with this one. It's just a screen with a big inventory and a 3D object that you can rotate around. I mean, it's a detective game, so you really want to see all those clues and inventory things that you have. You really want to examine them in 3D, a bit like LA Noire. Yeah, this is just a progression of how something from the inventory or picking up something should work. So maybe we open here a drawer and there's a gun inside, and then we can pick it up. So first we have it in our hands, and then we can decide to put it in the inventory, because I was figuring that certain objects are too large to put it in your trench coat. For example, the crowbar, you can only carry it around in your hands. And if you need something, well, you have to drop it. So yeah, this is, at least it's an idea. Maybe it's overly complicated, and everything else, including a 3-ton anvil, fits in your trench coat. I'm not quite sure yet, but I thought it might be interesting to have something that you hold in your hands and other things that go directly into your inventory. And then of course it shows up in your inventory. There we are, and yeah, you get it back. And next up, yeah, of course, oh, there we go. It's really hard to have this. I'm used to mirror images, and this is not a mirror image, so I'm always moving in the wrong direction. It's having your controls reversed. This is what I'm seeing there on my webcam. Okay, so yeah, what is the mouse cursor looking like, especially when you look through it? Is it a reticule? Is it a crosshair? If you examine something, is there a little eye icon in the middle? Well, then you don't see really what you're interacting with. Maybe it's an eye icon on top, or maybe you can switch between an eye and a hand icon for examine and interact and so on. Or if you switch to the mouse mode, is it a mouse pointer? Is it a hand? Is it a magnifying glass? Yeah, those are all those ideas that I have. I just don't categorize them. I just put them down. And also here, what is the metaphor for examine? Is it the body parts, eye for examine and a hand for interact? Or is it typography? Examine is a question mark. Well, this is a bit ambiguous. Or is it objects, like again the magnification glass to examine, and well, the rather nondescript gears, turning gears to interact and so on. So yeah, you can see it's just having fun on paper. Red Hammered says, great aesthetic plans, very fitting to the era. Exactly. This is, again, I want to have this very much area specific. Era, not area, era specific, so that it's not like with the Assassin's Creed games. Those irked me a little bit because their justification for this super sleek sci-fi layout and user interfaces, yeah, of course, you're in the Animus and seeing this from today's technology into your genes past. But then again, I thought it would be much nicer if I'm playing Altair. I would also have some kind of dusty cuneiform interface. It would feel much nicer, and this is what I want to go for this. And Andrew says, maybe a trench coat model with pockets as slots. You know what? I already have some pocket icons there for this. Yeah, this is again, as I told you, the progression of what you as a player do. And then I realized, yeah, what kinds of items I need to model, at least for the inventory and lying around. For example, we got the crowbar here, the key for the desk, the key for the padlock, the key for the desk, and of course this plug out fuse block. And next up we have here the user interface sketch for the inventory. So again, this is very raw, just for myself, just trying out how it looks on paper. Something like here, where we just have an overview of little thumbnails. I love little thumbnails. And then here is a big 3D model that you can twist and turn around, so to really examine something. So because there might be other clues hidden if you just examine it well enough. And of course you can use it or look at it again and use it. And there's a settings menu, and yeah, here are my ideas for little notifications, because some games they put something in your inventory and you don't really know it when they do it, or when something gets removed from your inventory. And I wanted to make this clear with little pop-up notifications. So for example, if you put something in your inventory, you got this icon here, and then it's just an arrow that leads to your little pocket. There we have it. Or this is supposed to be a hand. It doesn't work. This hand is much there we go. This hand is much more better to discern. So if you put something in your hand or drop something on the floor, and yeah, if you find a clue, it's this puzzle piece there. Inventory is symbolized by a pocket, the ground by this tiled floor. If you put something into, well, it's a down pointing arrow, and the other is an upwards pointing arrow, and so on. So yeah, you get the idea. And finally, of course, I mentioned the fuse box, and I thought, yeah, what did fuse boxes actually look like in the 40s? So where is it? Yeah, this is essentially a fuse box, how I researched it, with how the main fuse and the range block fuse works, and the little Edison screw type fuse. Fuses and so on, and so yeah, I'm very much looking forward to modeling greasy looking wires in this fuse box. So yeah, again, this is my process. It's just having fun on paper, then trying actually to see what I can implement, and it's every day, it's just one step after another, and see how far I can make things. And then I spent way too much time trying to make it look nice, as you can see here, where it's really nice with this glow here. And yeah, it's just so nice, because let me quickly show you here. I already got this global post-processing volume, and I turn off the visual environment, but I add 4 color adjustments, ambient occlusion, film grain, bloom, vignette, exposure, because I thought what would have been funny is okay, I need to run this by you. Okay, let me switch over. Where am I? Here am I. Okay, suppose you're playing a game, but it's only black and white, because 1940s, film noir aesthetic and so on. But I thought this was hilarious. There's a puzzle, maybe you have to defuse a bomb, and the detective says, just cut the blue wire, it's really easy. But everything is black and white, so you as a player wonder which one is the blue wire. And then you got instructions like the yellow wire is always next to the blue and crosses the red one only if it's not adjacent to the green one, and so on. So the joke essentially is you as a player, you don't see the colors, and you have to figure out from this immensely obtuse cues just to find out which one is the blue one. Or for example, if one asks you the femme fatale asks you, shall I wear the green dress or the red one? And you have to pick, and one means instant death to you, and you as the player really don't know which one. But yeah, again, this is probably a little bit too frustrating as a player, because I think things are frustrating as a player, and a lot of instances where I was a player was frustrated, where I thought I know exactly how the designer giggled when they put this trap into place, because they thought, haha, and they will think there is a health pickup because it looks like one, but when they get there, the trap opens. Haha, wouldn't that be funny? And I as a player would think later on, yeah, not amused. So yeah, this is just, and now I am at this point I'm just spitballing, but you can probably see all my zeal and enjoyment at just working this little idea. So yeah, again, sorry for neglecting the chat. And Red Hermit says, I love the idea of incorporating a trench coat. Yeah, maybe have this model of the detective with the trench coat, just like in Diablo, where you have this puppet, but instead of being able to discern which helmet and which armor and which right gauntlet you want to use, it's always hat and trench coat, and you can just have a look at what fits in what trench coat pocket. Maybe this would be a meta game of its own. It's like in Resident Evil, where you play more or less Tetris with the limited amount of inventory you have. But maybe I think for an adventure game, maybe this would be a little bit frustrating, because I think with the first Zork text adventure games, for some reason they implemented that you could only carry a certain weight or number of items. So you always had to leave items behind and remember where they were, but then there was this thief that would randomly take items from you or just scatter them around. So as a player, I mean, it's cool from a perspective of a game designer and programmer. So man, and our thief can wander around the environment and take objects that you put there. But as a player, my God, why won't you let me just carry everything that I need? So yeah, maybe, yeah, I will, but I really like the idea of this, yeah, little puppet with a trench coat. Fourth wall jokes, of course, fourth wall jokes, but again, I don't want them to be too much, but then again, I want them to be, yeah, borderline, where you would think, is this addressed now, I mean, in terms of dialogue, they are talking about me as the player, right? Where the detective in one dialogue, for example, says, "Yeah, I was feeling like I wasn't a master of my own life, that someone was steering me around, going in circles," something along those lines. I find this always quite funny. But again, with the fourth wall breaking, where the game is in black and white with the colors, yeah, maybe I can do this once, but maybe I also want to offer players the option to play either in black and white or in color. Because if I just use here the color adjustments and say saturation 0, and yeah, let's make the contrast a bit higher, and now here we got this wonderful 1940s film noir appearance already, because I mean, this looks kind of neat. I like it. I have to say I like it. But then again, of course, it would probably be too much for many people to play the entire game just in black and white, because I think I'm the only person who ever played the entirety of LA Noire on the Xbox 360 completely in black and white, because I thought it was just more fitting like that. And Andrew says, just imagine an abstract big designer holding a small player face down in a pool labeled immersion. Oh my god, maybe game developer jokes. I could shoehorn in some game dev jokes. I don't know which ones, but writing is always funny. And like I've shown you, doing this with Twine, this kind of interactive dialogues, or this branching dialogues with Twine. I mean, I realized this, how wonderful this worked, especially even for this little prototype. So I might be able to expand on this, maybe even shoot some more stuff. Because actually, the origin of this, why I wanted to have this 1940s detective game, was as I was playing the first Tex Murphy game like last month or so. And of course, this is a take on the film noir detective, or from the likes of Sam Spade or Philip Marlowe in the Chandler novels. It's what struck me was that some lines are almost exactly the lines that I used in my film noir bit, and I thought, oh my god, everyone will think I just ripped off Tex Murphy. But again, I mean, they're just so stereotypical things like I put down the retainer for my services for $50 plus expenses. I figured as much. You know, this whole kind of exchange. I mean, this is very stereotypical. And I thought maybe I could do a Tex Murphy-like game like this one just for myself, just as a little exercise. And then I realized, man, I already have some kind of detective story. And like I said in the beginning, this is why I just repurposed one scene and made the dialogue branching. Essentially, it's not so much that you change what the outcome of the dialogue, at least not in this one, but it's a bit like Monkey Island, where Ron Gilbert said, when you as the player can choose which line to say next, it's more or less like you get the 3 jokes at once, so you can just choose which quip you as a player character want to say and see how this plays out. But in the grand progression of things, it won't really change. Red Hermit says, switching between black and white and color could be pretty epic. Since you're a master of color, thank you, I feel that shift could be an emotion-inducing war moment, like Bethesda games when you get out of the tutorial and see the landscape is in front of you. Oh, maybe I need this sign that says scenic view. Promoting a mix of emotions and excitement. Yeah, I thought that as a player you could just pick color or monochrome in the settings, depending on whether you would play it. You would want to play it with color or without, but maybe it would be interesting to have it triggered by something you did in the game. I have to give it a thought. This is interesting. What I also thought was to make more solutions possible, and to even offer an easy mode in a sense. I mean, with most adventures that offer easy or hard modes, the easy mode is just, the puzzles are dumbed down and there are not as many puzzles and so on and so forth, or just the steps necessary to solve a puzzle are just not that many. And I thought I could give the player an incredibly handy tool. For example, a pocket knife, or a Swiss Army knife or something along those lines. So something that is often used as a red herring in adventure games, something that's so obviously useful that for some reason you never be able to use it. But instead I want to have always the player that they can, if they don't find or if they don't feel like cracking a padlock, for example, they can use their pocket knife, for example. But then of course the detective will say something like, it's always the easy route for me, or something along those lines. But maybe as a player you would think, okay, I know that I skipped now quite a bit of content just to get through here, so maybe next time I do another run and try to really figure out this puzzle, but then skip others with this wonderful handy tool. And of course, the more you use it, probably the worse your ending will be, where your detective in the big confrontation, I have no idea for the entire story, in the end they will just be faced with a puzzle, and then they realize, oh my god, all I got is my pocket knife because I didn't pick up any other things and I can't MacGyver my way out of this now. And yes, I used MacGyver as a verb. Ender says, I didn't believe black and white could really work until I saw Other Side a couple of days ago. Not an ad. Well, now it is. And now I think it's awesome when done right. You could prototype with both and decide after playtest maybe. This is always something that's incredibly helpful, is being able to do A/B testing. The only requirement for this is that you find enough testers so that it's really a meaningful statistic when you run the numbers at the end. But I think I could do this, that some people just play in black and white and aren't even notified that there could be a color version, and see what they say as a feedback. Leaving too much design decisions to the players breaks immersion, in my honest opinion. This is also something. If you as a player really can see the person behind the curtain, in a sense, where it's not so much that you are interacting with the game, but more like interacting with the level designer, as it is sometimes with maybe Skyrim, I think, where okay, if I go there's probably a chest there, but if I can sneak around and climb the mountain from the other side, then I avoid this dragon. And it's not so much like, I am the Dragonborn and have to fight the dragons and put an arrow in their knee. It's more like, okay, level designer at Bethesda, I know what you probably did and I will circumvent this with this way. So I think both can be fun, but with the game that is currently, what's it looking to become is more of a narrative experience. So maybe this could be immersion breaking. Maybe I still have to give it some more thought, but you're right, of course. Okay, I've been talking and showing off my crummy little prototype for, again, 2.5 hours now, and probably my wife might be subtly messaging me that she's about to go to bed. So I think I will pull, as we say in German, to close the sack, to wrap things up. And if there aren't any more questions or comments or anything else, I will just enjoy a sip of water and watch the chat attentively. By the way, unicorn, everyone. So, while I'm waiting for possible or not possible, how does it sound in German? Den Sack zumachen is it's to close, literally to close the sack too, is German, but it's much more fun if you pronounce it as hard and jagged and unfriendly as possible. Oh, thank you for the applause. You're too kind. What my next plans are with this little game of mine. Did I show you how it looked in black and white? Sorry, I wasn't quite sure. I think I did not. Let me switch over to the game in black and white. So this is This is the black and white 1940s overly contrasty version of how this would look like. And yeah, like I said, I like it, especially if you play with light and shadow as much as possible. And yeah, I really like those old film noirs. Films noir, I think, is the proper way to say it, because you can see in the cinematography there is a lot of craft to how they composed shots, and especially light and shadow and reflections and so on. So yeah, I might look into this. You know what, let's take the big bad capsule. Sure, why not? So yeah, my next plans for this is just go along as fancy strikes me. Like I said, might add an inventory system, not so much the GUI of the inventory system, but yeah, just more the concept that I have a game object that or a component that keeps track of which objects you have collected, in what state they are. Maybe you have even sprites for the inventory, maybe add notifications. Yeah, like I said, I'm not quite sure yet where the journey leads me. But the cool thing about being a solo dev is whenever you get bored or overwhelmed with something, if the programming just weighs you down and you think, oh, I can't think straight anymore, well, then I go over to Maya and just model this overly complicated 1940s fuse box, for example, and have a grand old time, or do some 1940s jazz music. Well, we'll see how that works out. But yeah, I think right now what motivates me the most about this game is that it's so small. I really just want this very short 5-minute long little experience with the in front and back just bookended by FMV, this FMV bit, just to see if I get it to work, this whole framework, and then I will see if there is interest in something bigger. Maybe I can transplant it to an entirely different genre. Science fiction would also be possible. In the end, it's just an adventure game with video clips in the end. So yeah, I have no idea, because it's so small and everything is a step in the right direction, is really liberating. Because when you have this grand MMO type game where you think, oh my god, I don't know how to fill 100 square kilometers of content, but I want it to be this big, it just weighs you down. And like I said, this is very liberating. Red Hermit says, thank you for sharing. Oh, you're very welcome. And Ender says, I love the language. Thanks for the story. Yeah, German is wonderful. And there was this on Twitter, there was this one, I think it was a TikTok, because you see the funniest TikToks on Twitter is how to call a cat. If you call it in French, cat, I don't know how to call it in French, or in English, kitty, 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 or in Italian, gatto, gatto, it doesn't react. But if you call it in German, Rachzuchtsheitsnudel versprechen, then it looks like this. Of course, this was not a German word, but the satirized German word. But yeah, the German word for cat is Katze, so it's not really that fun to talk or to speak out aloud. So excellent idea and foundation you've created so far. Wish the best of luck for your future tinkering with it. Thank you so much. Well, we will see how much time I can devote on it. But like I said, because it's so small, there's always something that you can work here and there. But then again, of course, there's always there always is a next Ludum Dare post-mortem. And yeah, yesterday I recorded the entire voiceover, which will be the scaffolding of everything, of the entire edit, and it will be around 30 minutes or so it's going to be another good one. And I still got plus minus 60 days until the next Ludum Dare is upon us. So until then, I can only say thank you so much for watching. Red Hermit, thank you so much for spreading the joy of subscriptions to my crummy little channel. It's really so much appreciated. Thanks for interacting, for chatting, for your interest in this hacky little prototype that I have. And yeah, I hope you have a great week. And if I have anything new to show, please follow me on Twitter if you don't already, because this is where I usually post most of my stuff. And yeah, otherwise there are many more Sundays, so yeah, we will see next week, next Sunday, what I have to show. I call my mother's cats Katzen all the time, says Ender42. Yeah, sometimes when I interact with animals, I just call them their species name. Looking good, cat. Why the long face, horse? What's making you so happy, dog? Doesn't work with humans, by the way. They're not too amused by it. Anyway, have a great week. See you next week. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the weekend, however short it may be. Cheers.